Tonight, candidates in Saturday's governorship election in Ekiti State promised to work towards violence-free poll as they sign a peace accord in the state capital, Ado-Ekiti. House of Representatives moves to override the president on statutory delegates clause in the Electoral Act, asks INEC to extend voter registration by 60 days. A federal government restates commitment towards resolving industrial dispute with university lecturers, says issues involved do not appear simple.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's inflation rate hit 17.71% in May, the highest since June 2021.
On sports news tonight, with all 32 teams confirmed for the 2022 FIFA World Cup, Qatar unveils the official poster for the world's biggest football showpiece designed by a female artist.
And from Abuja, Senate calls on security agencies to thoroughly investigate the attack and killing of worshippers at the St. Francis Catholic Church, Owo, in Ondo State.
And in international news from London, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has urged the European Union to tighten sanctions on Russia, saying the country could invade other nations after attacking Ukraine.
Candidates of different political parties contesting Saturday's governorship election in Ekiti State have committed to a peaceful poll as they sign a peace accord initiated by the National Peace Committee. A peace committee headed by former head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, reminded political gladiators in the election and their supporters that violence has no positive result. It called on candidates to accord respect for the appended signatures.
It's about 48 hours to the Ekiti governorship election, and key players and indeed peace ambassadors are here in the state capital to ensure commitments are made towards a peaceful poll. The chairman of the Peace Committee, former head of state Abdulsalam Abubakar, is represented here by the convener, Bishop Matthew Kuka, and the message is clearly conveyed, calling for peace, participation, and respect for the initiative.
We again appeal to all the political actors to ensure that they do not see the signing of the peace accord as a mere formality and a photo opportunity. May the friendship exhibited here follow you through the elections. And please note that at the National Peace Committee, we are exploring the possibilities of strengthening this accord so that those who sign it appreciate the weight, the consequences of their breaches.
The umpire superintending over the election describes the Peace Accord initiative as productive over the years. The body gives an assurance that votes cast on Saturday will count.
The success of the Peace Accord rests on three pedestals: the political actors, the Independent National Electoral Commission, and the security agencies. Speaking for INEC, I wish to assure the Peace Committee of our commitment to transparent and credible elections.
So please, just the chairman.
One after another, the candidates signed the peace deal, followed by exchange of pleasantries.
All progressives.
This has already allayed the fears of some candidates, but others highlight recent ugly experiences, begging for intervention.
One of our members, Kayode Adelusi, was visited in his home by 8 masked gunmen. They broke the doors until they got to where he was, and they abducted him in the presence of the wife and children.
I want to believe that having signed the accord, not for documentary sake, and having physical handshake with everyone, we hope for a better Ekiti and a peaceful one on Saturday.
I'm just pleading with the
with the military and paramilitary and those who are supposed to protect lives and property to be up and doing. This time is so sensitive. Everybody is scared, and we're just praying that the fear would not, scare the electorate away from the polling units.
There is renewed optimism that this accord will be respected by all the players as the Ekiti electorate look forward to a peaceful election come Saturday.
In another part of Ekiti, women staged a rally to sensitize the electorate on the need to uphold self-dignity in exercising their franchise. The rally was led by the Pan-African Women Group to discourage violence and selling of votes, describing it as inimical to a promising future. The 1,000 women walk terminated at the office of INEC's resident electoral commissioner.
Shun violence. Don't be cheap. The 2018 election, we were here and we saw a lot of things that were mind-blowing. People were receiving even 5,000 naira, 2,000 naira, 500 naira for you to sell your future. Your future cannot be bought. This state belongs to you. So if you don't speak to your husbands, if you don't speak to your brothers, if you don't speak to your youth, if you don't go to your mosque, if you don't go to your churches, if you don't go to markets, if you don't go to shops and speak out and say shun violence, don't indulge in thuggery, because if you snatch the ballot box, they will cancel the results. Those things are outdated. We are now in a new INEC. This INEC now is digital. This INEC now is electronic. So it's not the INEC that you used to know.
And in neighboring Osun State, barely 1 month to the governorship election, the People's Democratic Party has continued to receive several aggrieved members of the All Progressives Congress into its fold. Among the over 500 members of the APC who defected to the PDP at an event in Osogbo, the state capital, is a former commissioner for local government and chieftaincy affairs, Mr. Kolapo Alimi, who is an ally of the Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola. Mr. Alimi says he decided to join the PDP along with his supporters as a result of alleged injustice meted against them by the APC and the state government. Mr. Alimi, who was one of the leaders of the Osun Progressives, a group loyal to former Governor Aregbesola, has been made the deputy chairman of the governorship campaign committee of the PDP flag bearer, Senator Ademola Adeleke. In the meantime, the People's Democratic Party has set up a committee to screen its vice presidential candidate for the 2023 general elections. According to a statement by the National Publicity Secretary, Debo Ologunagba, members of the Vice Presidential Candidate Screening Committee were nominated by the PDP National Working Committee in line with the electoral guidelines. He added that the screening exercise would hold by 10 in the morning tomorrow inside the NWC Hall at the party's National Secretariat in Abuja. The committee, chaired by former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Tommy Kimi, has Dr. Akilu Ndabawa and Sunday Omobo as Secretary and Administrative Secretary, respectively, among others. In the meantime, Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has denied resigning from the People's Democratic Party. Wike stated this in a reaction to a viral video which suggests he has dumped the party. According to a statement by his media aide, Kelvin Iberi, Governor Wike clarified that the trending video was an excerpt from a television interview where he was reacting to the defection of the Ebonyi State Governor Dave Umahi in June last year. He says the excerpt of the interview has been deliberately manipulated by some desperate and mischievous persons with obnoxious agenda. Governor Wike maintains he will never, under any circumstance, defect from the PDP, which has offered him the platform to excel in his political career. And more on politics. Says the permutation over the choice of a running mate for the APC presidential flag bearer, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, continues. Senator Orji Kalu believes nothing is wrong with a Muslim ticket. The former Abia State governor argues that what is paramount is winning the election and not necessarily religious affiliation. Senator Kalu made the statement while speaking to journalists in Abuja.
If I am enamored Bola Tinubu's situation, the wife is a senior pastor in a Pentecostal church, I will go Muslim ticket. The most important thing is for the party to win. It's not, we should stop all this rubbish about whether you put a Christian there. After all, if we win, already the wife is a pastor that have been living for over 40, 50 something years together. I've known them this far. So why do you want to blame about, she's already like a deputy president? If I'm to say, I'm a Catholic, I'm saying my opinion. This is Orji Kalu's opinion. You cannot deny me my opinion. But you can also play Christian ticket, depending on the scenario. Because if we don't play Muslim, we're in trouble. We will not win it will be most difficult to win the election. Tinubu is a minority Muslim from the south. And if you put a Christian from the north, it's a minority Christian from the north. You cannot play two minorities. So the thinking it is difficult. No, listen. What I am telling you is sincerely from my mind. It's not the position of our parties.
His colleague from Adamawa State, Senator Binta Garba, has a different view. She strongly opposes the contemplation of a Muslim ticket. Senator Binta, who believes the choice of candidates should be based on capacity, maintains a balance is crucial to get the buy-in of the electorate. She was guest earlier on our program, Politics Today.
The party needs to bring out who now becomes the vice president. And this issue of a man ticket or a male-dominated environment when it comes to politics, forgetting that who are those that goes out to now vote the flag bearer. Mostly, if you looked at statistics, it is the women and the youth. But now, is the party looking on the other side of who now becomes the flag bearer? Because the issue now is based on sentiment on religion and ethnic group, which you cannot run away from it constitutionally. Even when the Constitution says that for you to have your ministers, it must have a federal coronation, a federal character. Now again, if you now want to now build up on that, then you must find someone within the northern Nigeria who now will now fit to assist the president in bringing out the vote.
To the lawmakers now, the House of Representatives has given the indication it will commence the process of overriding the president on the amended Electoral Act. It follows advice of the Speaker to the lawmaker, Ben Igbakpa, to bring the issue as a motion to the floor of the chamber. Honorable Igbakpa is urging the House to gather signatures and override President Muhammadu Buhari on the participation of statutory delegates in party primaries. Meanwhile, the House is asking the Independent National Electoral Commission to extend the voters' registration deadline. Our National Assembly correspondent, Terry Kumi, has more.
To full business as lawmakers commence the final session of the 9th Assembly. But regardless of the comments of the Speaker on Tuesday condemning a delegate system of the recently concluded political parties' primaries, in which about 178 members of the House failed to secure a return ticket, it would seem that the last is yet to be heard of the matter.
There isn't any material difference between the 2010 Act and that of 2022. And suddenly, majority of members, where it has been weaponized, have become victims. Something is wrong in an environment, in an institution, where the two leaders of the Senate would have to cross to other parties because of an inherent inclement condition. Their attention.
Honorable Benny Bakpa further draws the attention of the House to the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, which the House transmitted to President Buhari on the 13th of May, which he is yet to respond to.
We cannot continue to act as if we are under the executive arm of government. This constitution gave us the powers. just like you gave to them. Mr. Speaker, I implore you, as a great leader, to please, it is time, if we are sure we have done what is right to the Electoral Act 2022, we should rise up, take our pen, collect signatures, and by the grace of God, override Mr. President, and give Nigerians the enabling electoral law that will stand the test of time.
For us to override, I believe we require 2/3 majority. And it cannot be by voice vote, neither can it be by way of signatures, unless, of course, you have enough 2/3 by signature. So what I would suggest is that you bring the application in the form of motion or notice. So perhaps tomorrow or whenever you are able to do that, and then we'll determine whether or not this House is ready to override or not.
The amended bill sought to allow statutory delegates vote in party primaries and conventions. Meanwhile, the House is asking the Independent National Electoral Commission to extend the voters' registration deadline by 60 days, as well as deploy additional staff and registration machines across the country. Lawmakers, however, rejected an amendment calling for decentralization of the registration process to include religious centers. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, federal government promises to resolve industrial dispute with ASU, says issues involved are not as simple as many think. That's in a moment. Do join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Candidates in Saturday's governorship election in Ekiti State promised to work towards violence-free poll as they sign a peace accord in the state capital, Ado-Ekiti. House of Representatives moves to override the president on statutory delegates clause in the Electoral Act, asks INEC to extend voter registration by 60 days. The federal government restates commitment towards resolving industrial dispute with university lecturers, says issues involved may not be so simple. Resolving the lingering industrial dispute between lecturers in the nation's public universities and the government may not be as simple as many Nigerians think. That's according to the Minister of Information and Culture, Mr. Lai Mohammed, who told State House correspondents after the Federal Executive Council meeting today that despite the complexities, a lot is being done in the background to resolve the issues. Our State House correspondent, Gloria Omezuki, explains.
The President chairs the week's Federal Executive Council meeting, where memos bordering on the nation's infrastructure was approved. The Council also approved the enactment of the Federal Fire and Rescue Establishment Act 2022, among others behind closed doors. The lingering strike embarked upon by the Academic Staff Union of Universities since February came to the fore after the Council meeting. The Minister of Information and Culture, Mr. Lai Mohammed, admits that the situation might be a complex one as he reviews that 109 e-learning centers for primary schools across the country have been approved.
I don't think because we're having challenges with the university, lecturers, we should stop, primary school students or secondary students from, continue with their education. And I wish that the ASU issue is as simple as many of us think it is. I don't think it's that simple, but I want to assure you that a lot is going on behind the scenes. If we're not concerned, we'll not be looking for means to even assuage the feelings of the union. We're worried, we're concerned, and we'll continue to work towards finding an early resolution of the problem.
In a question and answer session, the minister also reacts to the recent ruling in a London court where Nigeria lost its $1.7 billion claim against JP Morgan Chase Bank.
The lawyers say they have studied the judgment and they will take the appropriate step whether to appeal or not.
The disagreement by Southwest governors over the federal government's claim that ISWAP is responsible for the Owo church attack is also addressed.
The manhunt is on, and we are in hot pursuit of those we suspect to be responsible for the carnage in Owo.
Whether it is ISWAP or not, it is regrettable, and the government will continue to ensure that the perpetrators are found and that we'll do everything to ensure there's no repeat.
The vacant seats in the president's cabinet is one of the questions journalists sought answers to. There are 6 vacant seats, as it were, in the cabinet, as 4 ministers returned after the valedictory session. The information minister simply says the president will fill and get replacements for those seats when he deems it appropriate. The question now is how soon? From the presidential villa, Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
We'll remain a little longer in Abuja, but this time in our studio where Maokwe Ogun Yusuf is standing by with more on the news at 10. Hi, Maokwe.
Hello, Amarachi. Well, we're off to the National Assembly, where the Senate is asking security agencies to be discreet in collaborating on intelligence gathering and sharing to prevent future attacks by terrorists and insurgents. The upper chamber is also urging security forces to intensify efforts to investigate the attack and killing of worshippers at the St. Francis Catholic Church, Owo, and bring the perpetrators to book. The Senate adopted these resolutions after considering a motion by Senator Ajayi Borofis on the killing of worshippers in Owo, in Ondo State, on Sunday, the 5th of June this year.
Senate notes with sadness that the attack on St. Francis Catholic Church in Owo led to the killing of 40 worshippers, and about 80 worshippers suffered varying degrees of fatal injuries. Senate further notes that the attackers deployed dynamite and heinously massacred aged persons, women, and children at St. Francis Catholic Church in Owo. Senate notes that such massacre could lead to inter-religious conflicts and ethnic war in Nigeria, and further notes reports of killings of Nigerians across different parts of the country. Accordingly, Senate resolves: 1. Urges the security agencies to intensify efforts to investigate the matter with the aim of bringing perpetrators to book, and as well deploy drones and helicopters to monitor forests and ungoverned areas in Nigeria to identify illegal camps of armed bandits throughout the country.
Now, the National Population Commission, the NPC, says it has concluded all arrangements to conduct trial census in 7,468 areas across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. This is coming from the Commission's Federal Commissioner, Bala Banye, who explained that a total of 13,500 field officials have been engaged to conduct the trial census, which is scheduled to hold on June the 30th this year. He made this known in Katsina during the closing of the Northwest Zonal Training organized for principal trainers for the exercise. He gave the assurance that the Commission is ready to conduct a credible, reliable, and acceptable 2023 population and housing census. In health matters, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, the NCDC, says over 11,000 cases of cholera were recorded in Nigeria in 2021. During the review meeting on the National Strategic Plan of Action on Cholera Control, the Director General of the Center, Dr. Ifedayo Adetifa, explains that 3,604 persons have died within the period, and Bauchi State recorded the highest number of cases. Dr. Adetifa says the agency is in partnership with development partners to meet the global roadmap. Meanwhile, the World Bank says it's intensifying support for local farmers in states across Nigeria through its agro-processing productivity enhancement and livelihood improvement project, also known as Appeals Project. The initiative, which is in partnership with the federal and state governments, is targeted at giving peasant farmers value chain investment support in addition to infrastructure support to give agriculture a boost. Representatives of the World Bank say Kogi State has so far performed excellently in actualizing the requirements of the scheme.
It is a gathering of the task team from the World Bank, officials of the National Coordinating Office of Appeals, members of the Kogi State Appeals, top government officials, and key players in the agro-allied sector in Kogi State. The World Bank officials are here to carry out an assessment of its agro-processing productivity enhancement and livelihood improvement support project, with Kogi State being one of their first ports of call.
They are doing a lot in Kogi State.
The state deputy governor is also here to get the feedback from the World Bank on how the state government has performed in its effort to ease the sufferings of farmers in the state. He commends the support of the World Bank and other partners since the project began.
I also want to, on behalf of His Excellency Alhaji Yahaya Adoza Bello, recommend that this model, that this particular appeal project has taken, should be adopted for all other projects that are similar to this kind of projects.
For the World Bank representatives and officials of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, Kogi State has so far contributed meaningfully to the attainment of the goals for the project and food security.
This project, when we started, we agreed that it should work for your state. It should support your agricultural program. If it's not doing that, or it has not done that so far, then we are not doing the right thing. But from where I sit, I can see that all the components, all the activities that this project has been trying to implement in Kogi State actually supporting your state programs.
The Kogi State Coordinator of Appeals gives a pictorial assessment of some of the achievements of appeals in the state, and according to him, over 8,000 farmers have so far benefited from the project in the state. He assures that before the project winds up, additional beneficiaries will be added.
I want to tell you that across the 5 components in Kogi State, Kogi Appeals project have really gone far in terms of project implementation, from construction of water facility down to road construction, input support to farmers, haulage system to farmers. Over 8,000 farmers have directly benefited from Kogi Appeals project, and the numbers are still growing day in, day out.
Although food security is critical to the growth of any nation, the World Bank officials believe that priority should be given to capacity development and economic growth of farmers across Nigeria.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's inflation rate hits 17.71% in May, the highest since June 2021. That's on Business News. You join us again.
Welcome back to the news at 10. Dangote Cement PLC has declared a dividend of 364.4 billion naira at 20 naira per share for the year ended 2021. These figures were announced by the chairman, board of directors, Mr. Aliko Dangote, at its 13th annual general meeting at the Eko Hotel and Suites in Lagos. In 2021, the company achieved another financial performance with double-digit growth across board. The Dangote Cement flag flies conspicuously at the venue of its annual general meeting in Lagos.
Director. Next to him is Mr. Olakunle.
Inside, the board of directors, regulators, auditors and shareholders begin the 13th edition, while others join virtually. The company experienced a year of strong growth, which, according to its chairman, could be attributed to the increased government expenditure on infrastructure and network of expansion around Africa. In the year under review, the company's overall financial performance stood at 684.4 billion naira, that's 43.2%, with a profit after tax of 364.4 billion naira. This informed the board to recommend a 25% increase in dividend at 20 naira per share.
So this year is totally a different ballgame. The inflation this year is much higher than last year, but I think things will improve as we go along. Good thing that we should expect us trying to meet demands of the product that we produce, and also at the best available, price.
The company's increased sale revenue, among others, resulted in improved margins. The group managing director says they intend to sustain the momentum.
The needs for cement, for infrastructure, housing, it is what it is, and we'll do our best to contain costs. We have seen 2021 results were, let's say, very good, and we're building 2022 on the same trend.
With all resolutions passed at the meeting, a representative of the shareholders explains that they're happy with the company's performance and the dividend declared.
It's a good company, and there's a lot of demand for cement, and they are in 10 African countries, so the diversification is very good for us, and you can see that they have very good corporate governance. For the first time, we have a female director, bringing the percentage of women to 27%.
With several milestones made in the year end 2021, it appears to be a good one for Dangote Cement PLC, and the board and management remain optimistic for the future. Popular Nollywood actor Yul Edochie, singer and songwriter Flavour, as well as rapper and record producer Phyno have renewed their contracts as brand ambassadors with Life Continental Lager Beer. The deal, which was signed at the Nigerian Breweries PLC corporate head office in Lagos, is to run for 2 years. The collaboration, according to Nigerian Breweries, underscores the brand's dedication to Igbo values of resourcefulness and enterprise, which the ambassadors embody.
The music and setting represents the Igbo ethnic group of southeastern Nigeria. It's all about the re-signing ceremony of the brand ambassadors for Life Continental Lager Beer. To continue telling the success story of Life Lager Beer, their partnership with Nigerian Breweries as brand ambassadors is extended. Each ambassador endorses the deal by symbolically appending his signature to the frame that bears his picture.
It's a very, very huge package in terms of all the amazing things that we'll be doing through these people. We're going to be having TVC appearances. We're going to be having them as part of our campaign and helping us to tell the story of what the Life Continental Lager Beer is about. We're also going to be using them in our various activities and activations across the country. So we will take them into the cities, we'll take them to the southern part, eastern part of Nigeria, and use them to excite the rest of the population and use them as a point of contact to tell the progress story of Life Lager Beer.
Just as Life Continental Beer defines the Igbo in every consumer, these brand ambassadors exude the qualities that exemplifies the typical Igbo man.
Life Lager Beer has always been a proud supporter of the southeastern culture, and Life Lager Beer, as you know, started from the southeastern part of the country, and that's why we continue to say we're proud of the heritage of the brand. You will see on the brand's packaging we have the Niger Bridge boldly on it, and that continues to tell the story of how proud we are of the people from that part of the country, and Life wants to continuously support those people.
From its humble beginnings in Onitsha in 1983, Life Lager has grown to become a dominant beer brand in the country while maintaining a unique cultural identity that broadly resonates with its customers.
Business News now. Here's Anne Wawodo.
Thank you, Amarachi. Hello and welcome to Business News. Let's begin tonight with Nigeria's headline inflation rate, which has climbed further to 17.71% year-on-year in the month of May, and that's its highest level since June 2021. According to latest data released today by the National Bureau of Statistics, the latest increase is 89 points higher than the 16.82% inflation rate recorded in April this year, marking the fourth consecutive monthly rise. Other analysis on the NBS report shows that core inflation number, which excludes the price of volatile agricultural produce, rose to 14.9% last month. The composite food index rose to 19.5%. Urban inflation jumped to 18.24%, while rural inflation increased to to 17.21%. The NBS has attributed the sustained rise in the country's inflationary pressure to a hike in global energy and food prices, which started since February this year due to the Russia-Ukraine war. And talking about Nigeria's economy, the outlook is challenging, with high food prices raising food security concerns. Inflation is expected to remain elevated. And that's according to the concluding statements describing the preliminary findings of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF staff, at the end of an official visit to the country. The report says the wild gross domestic product, the GDP, is projected at 3.4% in 2022. The fiscal deficit of the consolidated government is expected to remain high at 6.1% of GDP due to the costly petrol subsidies and the limited tax revenue collection. The IMF adds that risks to near term will arise from further deterioration of security conditions, elections, low vaccinations against COVID-19, and higher global interest rates. And talking about interest rates, the U.S. Federal Reserve has raised its own rates by 0.75% today in an aggressive move to tackle inflation. The rate hike, the highest since 1994, will bring the federal funds rate to between 1.5% and 1.75%. This hike will affect millions of American businesses and households, pushing up the cost of borrowing for homes, cars, and other loans. Just last week, the U.S. Consumer Price Index came in at 8.6% year-on-year, which was higher than expected. It even triggered volatility in the stock market early this week. Food prices and increases are now hitting 40-year highs, while gas prices are also at a record high. Let's talk about the Bitcoin. It slumped to an 18-month low today, dragging smaller tokens down with it and deepening a market meltdown. The world's largest cryptocurrency fell as much as 7.8% to $20,079.72, and that's its lowest since December 2020. According to the CoinMarketCap, Bitcoin has lost about 33% of its value against the US dollar since Friday, dropping more than 50% since the beginning of this year and slumping about 70% from its record high of $69,000 in November last year. The digital currency sector has been pummeled this week after crypto, that's the US crypto lender, Celsius, froze withdrawals and even transfers between counting stocks and contagions in the market. To the equities market now, where intense profit-taking is still continuing. Investors are selling off shares in MTN Nigeria. Ladi Williams has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. While the local boss loses the 53,000 point level today, closing at 52,775 points, slashing 183 billion naira off the equity cap. And the profit takers come with a vengeance today with the banking index hit hard again with the figures all down, taking the index down over 2%. Also, sell-offs of the MTN Nigeria's share price weighed the market down even more today, closing over 0.5% in the red with 188 million units of shares traded in 4,891 deals. While Triple G and Company PLC, that's in the packaging and container sector, led 11 gainers, followed closely by Len Africa, appearing on the top gainers list again today. While Mayor PLC led 27 losers to close at 2 naira 79 kobo. Not a negative market breath we see. Well, it's a shortened trading week and the bears are still in control as profit-taking rages on. Well, that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Ladi Williams. It's back to you.
Thank you, Ladi. Let's see the closing numbers from other markets around the world. That's Business News Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Mwawadu. It's back to you, Amarachi.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Anne. On the foreign scene, U.S. President Joe Biden has announced another $1 billion in security assistance to Ukraine. It will include additional artillery and coastal defense weapons, as well as ammunition for artillery and advanced rocket systems for Ukraine's defense operations in the Donbass. It comes as the Ukrainian president urges the EU to tighten sanctions on Russia. Salman Pusey has more.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has urged the European Union to tighten sanctions on Russia, warning the country could attack other nations after invading Ukraine. In a speech to both chambers of the Czech parliament via a video link, Zelensky reiterated calls for the EU to allow Ukraine to start on the road to membership of the 27-nation bloc by giving it candidate country status. Meanwhile, the Russian Ministry of Defense has said its forces have destroyed a munitions store in Ukraine's Lviv region, where weapons transferred from Western allies had been stored. In its daily briefing, Moscow's military said precision long-range missiles were used to strike the facility in the west of the country. Israel and Egypt will aim to boost natural gas exports to Europe under a memorandum of understanding as the continent looks to replace Russian energy imports. Israel's energy ministry said the framework deal signed with the European Union will be the first to allow significant exports of Israeli gas to Europe. Under the agreement, the EU will encourage European companies to participate in Israeli and Egyptian exploration tenders. Officials say they expect shipments of LNG from Egypt to Europe to increase under the agreement, although they have said it would likely take a couple of years before the exports can be significantly expanded. The EU Commission President said it was a big step forward.
This is a big step forward in the energy supply to Europe, but also for Egypt to become a regional energy hub.
The Home Secretary has said the UK government remains committed to sending asylum seekers from the UK to Rwanda, and plans for future flights have begun.
Madam Deputy Speaker.
Speaking in the Commons, Priti Patel defended the policy and said the court ruling was disappointing and surprising. It's after the first flight was cancelled minutes before the flight was due to take off on Tuesday evening after a late intervention from the European Court of Human Rights.
These repeated legal barriers are, Madam Deputy Speaker, very similar to those that we experience with all other removal flights, and we believe that we are fully compliant with our domestic and international obligations, and preparations for our future flights and the next flights have already begun.
Eyewitness video shows a car getting hit by falling rocks driving through Yellowstone National Park while trying to leave through the park's north entrance.
Whoa.
The footage shows huge rocks and boulders only narrowly missing the car. It's after record flooding and rock slides prompted park officials to shut down all 5 entrances to Yellowstone, marking the park's first disaster-related closing in summer since wildfires roared through the area in 1988. Major sections of the park's northern half are expected to remain closed for the rest of the season. Rescuers in central India have managed to pull a 10-year-old boy out of a well after being stuck there for around 5 days. Huge crowds gathered as the boy, who authorities identified as Rahul Sahu, was brought above ground on a stretcher. He had fallen into the 60-foot well in his village in Janjia city. It took rescuers from the National Disaster Response Force over 100 hours to pull him out. During the operation, he was provided oxygen through a pipeline by rescuers. According to the Janjia district magistrate, Sahu is currently undergoing treatment in a hospital and is stable and fine. Crowds have gathered to witness what's known as a strawberry supermoon after it rose behind an ancient temple on the coast of Greece. The second supermoon of the year, according to the Old Farmer's Almanac, so called when the moon's orbit is closest to the Earth, makes it appear larger and brighter than a regular full moon. June's full moon was called the strawberry moon in relation to the ripening of strawberries in June. And BTS fans have been reacting to the news that the South Korean boy band will be taking a break.
힘들었을 거를 생각 안 하고 너무 욕심만 부려서
Many in South Korea reacted with shock and dismay at the news, while the unexpected announcement fueled anger among investors, which went public 2 years ago and whose shares plunged 25% on Wednesday, wiping $1.5 billion off its market value.
무슨 얘기를 해야 될지도 모르겠고.
The group told fans during a televised dinner celebrating their anniversary that they would be pursuing solo projects. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Qatar has launched the official poster for the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Well, the series of posters is composed of several black and white images and an Arabic typography designed by Qatari artist Botaina Al Mufta, who says she wanted to appeal to both global and local communities and portray the collective cheer echoed in a stadium. She's the first woman to design an official poster for the World Cup. Meanwhile, FIFA President John Infantino has congratulated all the 32 nations on their qualification for this year's FIFA World Cup in Qatar. The 32-strong field was finalized on Tuesday, with Costa Rica defeating New Zealand at the Ahmed bin Ali Stadium. 24 hours earlier, Australia outlasted Peru with a penalty shootout victory at the same venue. Now, the FIFA World Cup will kick off on November the 21st. And that's sports news. I'm Ayotunde Balogun.
Thanks a lot, Ayotunde. And the main news again. Candidates in Saturday's governorship election in Ekiti today promised to work towards a violence-free poll as they signed a peace accord in the state capital, Ado-Ekiti. And River State Governor Nyesom Wike today denied claims he has resigned from the PDP. That's News at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night.